All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. You know, we love to get into the nitty-gritty of all sorts of interesting things here at the Deep Dive.
We sure do.
And today we're going deep on something a lot of you have been asking about.
Absolutely. IELTS prep.
And specifically, we're tackling part 3 of the speaking section. So if you're gearing up for the IELTS, this deep dive is for you. We're going to pull out some actionable strategies from your notes and some expert advice to help you really nail this thing.
That's right. It's all about feeling confident and prepared, ready for whatever comes your way.
Right, because let's be real, part 3 can be a bit intimidating. It's where things get seriously conversational, and you're expected to really dig into some complex topics.
It's where you get to showcase your fluency and your ability to have a real discussion, move beyond just basic questions.
Exactly. It's about showing off those English skills you've worked so hard for. So let's jump right in. One of the first things that stood out to me in your notes is this idea that examiners are looking for you to do more than just give simple yes or no answers.
Oh, for sure. They want to see those opinions, but they also want you to support them with reasons and good examples.
Yeah.
Illustrate your points.
So it's not enough to just say, I agree or I disagree. You need to back it up.
Right. Let's say they ask you something like, do you think children do less sport and exercise than in the past? A classic example, really.
Yeah, totally. So how would you approach that kind of question?
Well, instead of just saying, yes, I agree, you could say something like, yes, I think children are less active these days, because they often have so much more homework and all those extracurricular activities. It just leaves less time for sports.
That makes total sense. You're actually giving a reason to support your opinion, which is exactly what the examiners are looking for.
Exactly. It shows you're actually thinking about the question, not just giving a memorized response.
Okay, so supporting your opinions is key. But here's where things get really interesting. I was looking through the source material, and it actually suggests that if you can't think of a real-life example, you can.
Yep.
Wait for it. Make one up.
Yeah, I know. Sounds a little surprising, right?
It does. It feels almost like cheating.
I know. But the thing is, the examiner isn't trying to fact-check your entire life story. They're more focused on how you use language to get your ideas across. So if you need to, create a hypothetical scenario, a little what-if story to illustrate your point, it can actually be a really effective strategy.
Huh. So it's like creative storytelling, but with a purpose.
Exactly. It's about using your imagination strategically.
But okay, hold on. Isn't that a bit risky? Like, what if the examiner, catches on that I'm making things up?
It's all about balance, really. While real-life examples are always the best, if you're drawing a blank, there's no harm in using your imagination a little. The key is to make sure your invented example is believable. It has to make sense of the context of the topic.
Right, so don't go too wild with it. Keep it grounded.
Exactly. It should flow naturally with the rest of your answer.
Okay, I'm starting to see how that could be a useful tool in a pinch. It's like a backup plan when your mind goes blank.
Exactly. It's all about having options.
But let's say you're struggling to come up with strong arguments or examples in the first place. You're sitting there and your mind just goes blank.
We've all been there. That exam pressure can be intense.
Totally. So what do you do then?
Well, that's where the power of speculation comes in. It's a way to add nuance and really make your answer shine, explore possibilities instead of just stating facts.
So instead of saying, this is what happens, I might say, it's possible that this could happen.
Right. You can use phrases like, it's possible that, or one reason could be, or even those conditional statements like, if this happens, then maybe this would happen.
So if children have more screen time, then they might have less time for physical activity.
Exactly. That shows you're thinking critically. You're considering different angles, different possibilities.
I like it. It's like you're showing the examiner that you're not just repeating memorized answers, you're actually engaging with the topic.
Yeah. That's the idea. And it leads us to another really important strategy, considering those counter-arguments.
Ooh, counter-argument. So not just presenting one side of the story, but acknowledging that there might be other perspectives out there.
You got it. It shows you're thinking deeply about the issue. You're not afraid to see things from different angles, and it can really strengthen your responses.
Right, because in real life, most issues aren't black and white. There are nuances, different viewpoints to consider.
Exactly. And you can use phrases like, on the other hand, or however, to introduce those contrasting ideas.
So I might say something like, while I think children are less active these days, on the other hand, there are also more opportunities for organized sports and activities than ever before.
That's a great example. You're acknowledging the opposing viewpoint while still maintaining your own stance. It shows a more sophisticated thought process.
Okay, I'm loving this. We've got supporting opinions, we've got strategic invention, the power of speculation, and now we're adding in counterarguments.
It's like building up an arsenal of strategies for Part 3 success.
Totally. And there's more to come, right?
Oh yeah, we've got plenty more to unpack. But before we get to that, we've got to talk about what happens when you just, you draw a blank on a topic. It's like you said, your mind goes blank, that exam pressure.
Oh, yeah, I can totally see that happening. What do you do when you just completely freeze up?
Well, the source material actually emphasizes honesty, which I think is pretty cool.
So if I'm just totally lost, it's better to admit that I don't really know a lot about the topic instead of trying to, fake it.
Exactly. Authenticity can go a really long way. But don't just say, I don't know, and leave it at that. You can briefly explain why you might not know a lot about that specific area.
Okay, so let's say the question is about, the impact of cryptocurrency on global finance or something like that. But I'm, more of a pottery enthusiast.
Right, right. So you could say something like, well, to be honest, I haven't really had much exposure to the world of cryptocurrency, so my understanding of its global impact is pretty limited.
Got it. So you're being honest, but you're also kind of explaining why you might not be an expert on that particular topic.
Precisely. And even then, you could still try to engage with the question a little bit, maybe speculate a bit based on what you do know.
So even with my limited knowledge of cryptocurrency, I could say something like, while I'm definitely not an expert, it seems like anything that affects global finance on that scale is going to have, a ripple effect on other areas of the economy as well.
There you go. See? You're showing the examiner that you can think critically and make connections, even when you're a bit outside your comfort zone.
I like that. It's like you're not just giving up, you're still trying to think things through.
Exactly. And that kind of thinking is what they're looking for. Okay, so we've talked about supporting your opinions, strategic invention if you need it, the power of speculation, and being honest when you're stumped.
It's a lot to remember, but I'm feeling way more confident about tackling those tougher questions now. But before we wrap up, the source material also mentions the importance of interacting with the examiner in Part 3. What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, Part 3 is designed to be more conversational than the other sections. It's more like a back and forth exchange. So the examiner might ask some follow-up questions based on your responses, or maybe even gently challenge your views a little to see how you handle a bit of a debate.
Okay, so it's not just about delivering pre-prepared answers. You need to be flexible and ready to respond in the moment.
Exactly. Think of it like a friendly tennis match. You're volleying ideas back and forth, building on each other's points, and keeping that conversation flowing.
I like that analogy, but that also means I need to be a good listener, right? Not just focused on what I'm going to say next.
Absolutely. Pay attention to the examiner's tone, the types of questions they're asking. Are they looking for clarification, prompting you to go a little deeper, or maybe even playfully pushing back on your ideas a bit? It's all part of the interaction.
Okay, so it's like you're really having a conversation, not just a question and answer session.
You got it. And that's what makes Part 3 so interesting. It's a chance to really showcase your communication skills.
It's really starting to feel like you're giving me the insider's guide to navigating all the nuances of Part 3, which is amazing. So we've talked about supporting opinions, using that strategic invention if needed, the power of speculation, and even how to handle those I don't know moments gracefully. Plus, we've added this layer of understanding how to interact with the examiner and treat it as a genuine conversation.
It's all about showing the examiner that you can think critically and express yourself clearly. Engage in a discussion that goes beyond the surface level.
I love it. Now, I know we've covered a lot of ground here today, but before we wrap up this whole deep dive, I wanted to leave everyone with something to think about. Something to really kind of chew on.
Okay, I like it. Lay it on me.
So imagine you're in that exam room. You're sitting there, and the examiner hits you with a question. But this time, it's about something you're genuinely passionate about.
Oh, that's interesting. What a cool thought.
Right. What's that topic for you? What could you talk about for hours and hours and not even have to, think about it? Is it a hobby, a cause you really care about, or maybe something from your work that just, gets you fired up?
I think that's a really great point to end on, actually. It's like remembering that even though the IELTS can feel like this, huge hurdle to overcome, it's also an opportunity.
Yeah, it's a chance to actually share a bit of yourself, who you are, what matters to you, and you get to do it using those awesome English skills you've been working so hard on.
And the more you practice talking about those things you're passionate about, the more confident you'll become. And that fluency just naturally comes out.
It's like you're bringing your authentic self to the exam, which can make all the difference.
Definitely. It takes some of the pressure off, too.
So, to everyone out there prepping for the IELTS, remember all the tools we've talked about today. Supporting your opinions, using your imagination strategically, exploring those possibilities, and hey, even knowing how to handle those moments when you just totally blank. You've got this.
Absolutely. We're rooting for you here from the deep dive.
Best of luck out there, and hey, if you ever need a refresher on any of this, you know where to find us. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
See you next time.